What happens when one of Hollywood's most outspoken actors sits across from one of daytime TV's most unfiltered hosts, and neither of them backs down? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The cameras are already rolling. The audience is warmed up, clapping, smiling. The familiar music plays as the hosts of The View take their seats. There's energy in the room, the kind that feels light at first, casual, daytime, coffee mug on the table vibes. Joy Behar leans forward with that half smile she gives when she's about to say something slightly dangerous. The rest of the panel exchanges glances, because they know where this could go. The announcer's voice comes in. Please welcome Academy Award-winning actor and director, Ben Affleck. And out walks Ben Affleck. Calm, composed, polite smile. He hugs a couple of the hosts, waves to the audience. Applause fills the studio. He sits down, adjusts his jacket, and takes a breath. Joy starts first. Ben, welcome back. It's been a while. Yeah, it has, Ben says, nodding. Thanks for having me. The tone is friendly. They talk about his latest project, his directing process, how he balances work and family life. He answers thoughtfully, measured. The audience laughs at a light joke he makes about needing more coffee on early set mornings. Sunny jumps in with a question about the film's political themes. Ben leans forward slightly, clearly prepared. He talks about storytelling, responsibility, how films can reflect cultural conversations without preaching. Joy tilts her head. But don't you think, she says, adjusting her glasses, that sometimes Hollywood actors overestimate how much regular people care about their political opinions? There's a small ripple in the audience. Not loud, just enough. Ben pauses. It's subtle, a half-second longer than usual. Well, he replies carefully, I don't think it's about assuming people care. I think it's about using whatever platform you have responsibly. Joy raises an eyebrow. But responsibly according to who? A few oaths from the crowd. The other hosts shift slightly in their seats. Ben keeps his composure. Responsibly according to your own values. I mean, everyone has a voice. Actors, teachers, mechanics, we're all citizens. Joy doesn't let it go. Sure, but when celebrities start lecturing, it can feel disconnected. Like you guys live in a different world. The word you guys hangs there. Ben gives a small smile, but it's tighter now. I mean, I pay taxes. I sit in traffic. I deal with school pickups. I don't feel that disconnected. The audience laughs softly at that, easing the tension for a moment. Joy shrugs. Come on. You're not exactly standing in line at the DMV. The crowd laughs louder this time. Ben chuckles too, but he leans in. Actually, I have, he says. And it's not glamorous. That gets applause. Joy presses again. But you have influence. When you speak about politics, people listen. Some people think that influence should come with maybe a little more humility. There it is. The shift. Ben's posture changes slightly. Not aggressive, but grounded. I don't think speaking about issues automatically means you're being arrogant, he says. Sometimes it just means you care. Sunny nods. Whoopi glances between them, sensing the temperature rising. Joy folds her hands on the table. Or it means you're used to people agreeing with you. The audience reacts again, sharper this time. Ben's smile fades just a bit. That's not really fair. Isn't it? Joy asks. There's a pause. The kind of pause that feels very live. Ben takes a breath. Look, disagreement is healthy. I'm not expecting applause every time I say something. But dismissing someone's opinion just because they're an actor, that feels like a shortcut. A small wave of applause breaks out. Joy turns slightly toward the audience. I'm not dismissing you, Ben. I'm questioning whether celebrities sometimes confuse visibility with expertise. That line lands heavy. Ben nods slowly. That's a fair distinction. But I don't claim to be an expert on everything. When I speak about something, it's usually because I've spent time learning about it. Joy interrupts gently but firmly. Learning from who? Other celebrities. A few gasps. The room tightens. Ben lets out a short breath through his nose. Not a laugh, not irritation, but something in between. No, he says calmly. From policy experts. From activists. From people who actually live the realities we're talking about. The other hosts try to soften the moment. Okay, Whoopi says. We're getting spicy early. The audience laughs nervously. But Joy isn't smiling as much now. I just think sometimes there's a tone. Like, we know better. And that rubs people the wrong way. Ben leans forward again. If that tone exists, it's not intentional from me. But let me ask you something, Joy. Should people with large platforms just stay quiet? That question shifts the energy. It's direct. Joy doesn't hesitate. No, but maybe listen more. There's a quiet wow from somewhere in the audience. Ben nods slowly. I do listen. A lot. More than you probably think. Their eye contact holds a second longer than typical daytime TV banter. Sunny jumps in. I think what Joy is trying to say is there's frustration out there. People feel talked down to. Ben turns to her. And I get that frustration, but I don't think the solution is silence. Joy leans back. Or maybe it's self-awareness. There's a split second of silence that feels louder than any applause. Ben's expression changes, not angry but firmer. I'm self-aware enough to know that I don't have all the answers, he says. But I'm also aware that staying quiet because someone might disagree isn't leadership either. The audience claps, louder this time. Joy glances at the crowd, then back at him. Leadership? See, that's the word. Actors as leaders. Ben doesn't flinch. Citizens can lead conversations too. Whoopi steps in, sensing the temperature rising another notch. All right, let's take a breath. But the energy is already different from the start of the segment. What began as a standard promotional interview has shifted into something more pointed. The smiles are thinner. The pauses are longer. The audience is fully alert now. No casual laughter, no background chatter. Joy looks at her notes, then back at Ben. You've been outspoken about media narratives lately. Do you think shows like this contribute to the divide? That question lands heavier than the others. Ben looks around the table. I think media in general has a responsibility, including talk shows, including me. Joy tilts her head. So we're part of the problem? Ben chooses his words carefully. I think we're all part of the ecosystem. The audience murmurs. Joy folds her arms lightly. That sounds diplomatic. Ben smiles slightly. It is. And just like that, the tension doesn't explode. It simmers. The conversation hasn't spiraled yet. No shouting. No meltdown. But something real is happening. Two strong personalities, neither backing down, both convinced they're standing on reasonable ground. And the audience can feel it. The air in the studio feels different now. And this is only the beginning. Joy gives a small laugh, but it doesn't quite soften the moment. Diplomatic is one word for it, she says, tapping her pen against the table. Avoiding the question might be another. The audience reacts with a low ripple. Not quite laughter, not quite tension. Just that live TV hum where everyone senses something's shifting. Ben doesn't rush to respond. He leans back slightly, folds his hands together. I'm not avoiding it, he says evenly. I just don't think blame is productive. Media reflects culture as much as it shapes it. Joy jumps in quickly. Oh, I disagree. Media absolutely shapes culture. Sunny nods. It does both. Ben glances at Sunny, appreciative of the nuance. Sure, it can. But audiences aren't passive. People make choices about what they watch, what they believe. Joy raises a brow. So when misinformation spreads, it's the audience's fault? That lands sharp. A few audible sounds from the crowd. Ben shakes his head. No, I didn't say that. I'm saying it's more complicated than pointing fingers at one place. Joy leans forward. But you just said we're part of the ecosystem. Yes, Ben says calmly. We are. And ecosystems have consequences. The temperature inches up again. The other hosts glance at each other. Whoopi adjusts in her chair, watching carefully. Ben nods slowly. They do. And I think the responsibility applies to everyone. Politicians, media figures, actors. Joy smiles tightly. And talk show hosts. And talk show hosts, Ben agrees. The audience gives a small, mixed reaction. Some applause, some murmurs. Joy doesn't break eye contact. So let me ask you something directly. Do you think this show divides people? There's a collective inhale in the room. Ben pauses longer this time. I think passionate discussions can feel divisive to people who don't agree with what's being said. Joy tilts her head. That's not what I asked. Ben nods. I know. I think this show reflects division that already exists. A small burst of applause comes from part of the audience. Another section stays quiet. Joy folds her arms. So we're just mirrors? No accountability. Ben leans forward again, voice still controlled. Accountability is important. But I think it's unfair to say discussion equals division. Sunny steps in gently. Joy, I think what he's saying is that conversations can be uncomfortable without being harmful. Joy turns slightly toward Sunny. Uncomfortable for who? For everyone, Sunny replies. The audience laughs lightly at that, easing things for half a second. But Joy turns back to Ben. A lot of people feel that Hollywood lectures them about how to live, how to vote, how to think. And when they push back, they're called uninformed. Ben's expression shifts. There's a seriousness now that wasn't there at the start of the segment. I don't call people uninformed for disagreeing with me, he says. Joy raises a finger. But some actors do. Then that's on them, Ben responds quickly. I can only speak for myself. Joy doesn't let the pace slow. But you're part of that community. And you're part of media, Ben replies evenly. The audience reacts louder this time. A mix of claps and gasps. It's not explosive, but it's real. Joy smiles, but there's edge in it. So now it's us versus you? Ben shakes his head. No, it's us as citizens having conversations. Joy interrupts, voice slightly firmer. But when you go on late-night shows and make jokes about people who disagree with you, that doesn't feel like a conversation. Ben's jaw tightens just a little. Comedy isn't policy. The audience laughs at that line, some genuine, some nervous. Joy presses. But it influences people. Ben nods. Everything influences people. That's my point. Whoopi steps in, hands slightly raised. All right, let's not talk over each other. There's a brief pause. Joy turns back to Ben. I just wonder if sometimes actors mistake applause for agreement. That line lands hard. A few audible "oh" reactions from the crowd. Ben doesn't immediately respond. He looks out at the audience for a second, then back at Joy. Applause doesn't mean everyone agrees, he says quietly. It means some people do. Joy counters. And the ones who don't, they're allowed not to, Ben says. That's the point of free speech. Joy leans in. But free speech also means people can criticize you. Absolutely, Ben says quickly. And I don't object to criticism. I object to being told I shouldn't speak at all. There's applause, louder this time. Joy glances at the audience, then back at him. Nobody's silencing you, Ben. You're here. Ben smiles slightly. True, but there's a difference between speaking and preaching. The word preaching shifts the air again. Ben's voice lowers slightly but stays steady. I don't preach. I advocate. Joy shakes her head gently. That's semantics. It's not, Ben says. Preaching implies moral superiority. Advocacy implies caring about an issue. Sunny interjects. Language matters. Joy gestures toward Ben. Okay, but when you say things like people need to wake up, that feels like moral superiority. Ben responds immediately. I've never said people need to wake up. Joy shrugs. Maybe not those exact words. The audience murmurs. There's tension now, not explosive but sustained. Ben looks directly at her. If we're going to quote each other, let's quote accurately. That line earns a strong reaction, a mix of applause and surprised laughter. Joy's smile tightens. Oh, I'm accurate. Ben nods slowly. Then let's stick to specifics. Whoopi jumps in again. Okay. Let's all breathe. But the conversation isn't cooling. It's building slowly, layer by layer. Joy flips a page on her notes. You've also criticized certain news outlets for spreading narratives. Do you think talk shows do that too? Ben answers carefully. I think narratives exist everywhere, including in Hollywood. Joy raises an eyebrow. Finally, we agree on something. The audience laughs, grateful for a tiny moment of levity. Ben smiles faintly. See, common ground. But Joy isn't finished. But when you criticize media, you're criticizing people's livelihoods. Journalists, hosts, producers. And when media criticizes actors, Ben replies calmly, it's the same thing. A beat of silence. Joy leans back. So you think we're equally powerful? Ben considers that. In different ways. Joy shakes her head. I don't buy that. Ben doesn't push back immediately. He lets the silence sit. The audience shifts in their seats. You reach millions every day, Ben says. That's power. Joy counters. And you star in billion-dollar franchises. The audience reacts louder at that. Laughter, applause. Ben smiles. Fair. Joy leans forward again. So maybe we should both be careful. I agree, Ben says. There's a flicker of surprise on Joy's face. The tension dips for a second. But careful doesn't mean silent, Ben adds. And there it is again, the firmness returning. Joy exhales through her nose. Nobody's asking for silence. Ben looks at her steadily. You suggested listening more. Yes, Joy replies. Listening more. I do, Ben says. But listening doesn't mean agreeing. Joy's eyes narrow slightly. And speaking doesn't mean you're right. Ben nods. I never said I was. The room feels tight now. Even the audience is quieter, watching closely. Sunny glances toward the producers off camera, sensing the time ticking. Joy folds her hands together on the table. I just think there's a disconnect between Hollywood and everyday Americans. Ben leans forward one more time, voice calm but unmistakably firm. And I think that narrative is overused. A noticeable reaction from the audience, sharper this time. Joy tilts her head. Overused? Yes, Ben says. Because it reduces millions of people into caricatures. That line lands heavily. Joy opens her mouth to respond, but there's a split-second hesitation. And for the first time since the segment started, the energy shifts from playful debate into something that feels personal. The studio lights are the same. The set hasn't changed. But the atmosphere is no longer casual. It's charged. And it's not over. Joy sits up straighter, her voice a little firmer now. Caricatures? Ben, nobody here is reducing anyone to a caricature. Ben doesn't look away. When we talk about Hollywood elites versus real Americans, that's a caricature. A few audience members clap. Others stay quiet. The split is visible now. Joy shakes her head. It's not a caricature if people feel that way. Ben responds quickly. Feelings don't automatically make something accurate. That draws a louder reaction, a mix of applause and a couple of sharp gasps. Whoopi lifts her hand slightly. All right, let's slow down. But Joy leans forward again. So now people's feelings aren't valid? Ben exhales slowly. That's not what I said. I'm saying feelings and facts aren't the same thing. Sunny nods cautiously. That's true in general. Joy glances at Sunny, then back at Ben. You know what the problem is? Sometimes it sounds like you're talking down to people. The audience reacts immediately, that word again. Talking down. Ben's expression hardens slightly. Not angry, but clearly frustrated. I'm not talking down to anyone, he says. I'm responding to what you're saying. Joy interrupts, her tone sharper. But you're correcting people. Ben blinks once. We're having a debate. Joy's voice rises just a notch. No, we're having a conversation. And in conversations, Ben replies calmly, people disagree. There's applause again, stronger this time. Joy turns toward the audience briefly. See, this is what I mean. When celebrities speak, there's always applause. It reinforces the idea that you're automatically right. Ben looks out at the audience, then back at her. Or it means some people agree with me. Joy presses. And the ones who don't, they're not clapping, Ben says plainly. That line earns a small burst of laughter. But Joy isn't amused. It's not that simple. Ben leans back slightly, hands open. Then explain it. The room quiets. That was direct. Joy doesn't hesitate. You have cultural power. You have influence. When you speak, it carries weight. So when you dismiss the idea of a disconnect, it feels like you're dismissing the people who feel it. Ben nods once. I'm not dismissing their feelings. I'm challenging the framing. Joy shakes her head. That sounds like the same thing. Ben's tone tightens just slightly. It's not. There's a long pause. You can almost hear the studio lights buzzing. Sunny shifts in her seat. Maybe the real issue is perception. People see success and assume distance. Joy nods quickly. Exactly. Ben turns to Sunny. And I get that perception. But perception isn't reality. Joy jumps in again. So now people's lived experiences are just perception? The audience reacts loudly. This is the sharpest exchange so far. Ben sits forward, elbows near the table. Joy, you're putting words in my mouth. Joy raises her hands slightly. No, I'm interpreting what you're saying. And I'm clarifying it, Ben responds. The back and forth is faster now. Less breathing room. Whoopi finally steps in more firmly. Okay, let's not turn this into a courtroom. A ripple of nervous laughter breaks out. Joy doesn't smile. I just think there's a level of defensiveness here. Ben looks at her steadily. There is. Because you keep suggesting that speaking up equals arrogance. Joy tilts her head. If it walks like arrogance. A loud, oh, from the crowd. Ben's jaw tightens visibly this time. He pauses, longer than before, choosing words carefully. Confidence in your beliefs isn't arrogance, he says slowly. Joy responds immediately. It can be. Ben shakes his head. Not automatically. Joy leans closer across the table. When you say people are using an overused narrative, that sounds dismissive. Ben meets her gaze. Because I think it is overused. The tension is thick now. Even the audience isn't reacting as loudly. They're just watching. Sunny tries again. Let's pivot slightly. But Joy isn't done. Do you think regular Americans are wrong about feeling ignored by Hollywood? Ben answers without hesitation. I think regular Americans are diverse. I think reducing them to one feeling is the problem. That lands with a wave of applause. Joy exhales sharply. You keep using that word, reducing. Because it applies, Ben says. Joy folds her arms now. You're very sure of yourself. Ben nods once. On this, yes. That's when the room shifts again. Joy gives a small, incredulous laugh. Wow. Ben doesn't back off. You asked. Joy looks around the table. Do you hear this? Whoopi sighs lightly. I hear both of you. But the tension is no longer subtle. It's open. Joy turns back to Ben. You're sitting here telling millions of viewers that their frustration is based on an overused narrative. Ben responds immediately. No. I'm saying the narrative that Hollywood and Americans are opposites is flawed. Joy's voice rises. That's how they feel. Ben's voice stays lower, but firmer. And feelings can be shaped by rhetoric. The audience reacts sharply, louder than any previous moment. Joy leans back, clearly taken aback. So now it's rhetoric? Ben holds eye contact. Yes. The word hangs there. Sunny glances toward the producers again. The clock is definitely ticking now. Joy's tone softens slightly, but the edge is still there. Do you understand why people think Hollywood looks down on them? Ben nods slowly. I understand why they might think that. And, Joy presses. And I think that perception is often fueled by selective examples. Joy gives a short laugh. Selective examples like award shows? The audience laughs, some clapping. Ben shrugs lightly. Award shows are performances. Joy raises her eyebrows. So it's all performance? Ben responds calmly. A lot of public life is. There's another wave of reaction, mixed again. Joy shakes her head. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It feels detached. Ben's voice lowers even more, controlled but intense. What feels detached is assuming that because someone works in entertainment, they don't understand real life. That line lands hard. Strong applause from one side of the audience. Silence from another. Joy leans forward one more time. Nobody said you don't understand real life. It's implied, Ben says quietly. Joy looks at him for a long moment. Maybe you're just sensitive to the criticism. The room gasps. Ben doesn't react immediately. He blinks once, then nods slowly. Everyone's sensitive to criticism. Joy replies, some more than others. Whoopi finally raises both hands. Okay, we need to take a breath. The tension has peaked. It's not shouting. It's not chaos. But it's raw. Ben shifts slightly in his seat. Look, I came here to talk about my film. I didn't expect to defend my right to have opinions. Joy fires back. Nobody's taking your rights away. It feels like you're questioning them, Ben says. I'm questioning the tone, Joy responds. And I'm questioning the framing, Ben replies. They're almost speaking over each other now. Sunny jumps in quickly. Let's remember this is about dialogue. Joy looks at Sunny, then back at Ben. Dialogue requires humility. Ben answers immediately. It also requires fairness. The audience erupts, loud applause, some cheers. Joy sits back, lips pressed together. For a brief moment, nobody speaks. The silence is louder than anything that's been said. And you can feel it. The segment has crossed from debate into something personal. This isn't just about Hollywood anymore. It's about respect. And neither of them is ready to let the other have the last word. The silence lingers for a few seconds longer than anyone in that studio is comfortable with. Whoopi finally exhales into her mic. All right. We're clearly in it now. A small wave of nervous laughter breaks the tension, but it doesn't fully dissolve it. Joy looks at Ben again, her voice calmer but still firm. Nobody here is trying to take away your right to speak. I just think when you have influence, the way you use it matters. Ben nods slowly. I agree with that. There's a subtle shift. Not a resolution, but a slight lowering of the temperature. But influence cuts both ways, Ben continues. When you frame an entire industry as disconnected or elitist, that shapes perception too. Joy tilts her head. It's not framing. It's observation. Ben shakes his head gently. It becomes framing when it's repeated often enough. The audience reacts again, not as loud as before, but attentive. Sunny leans in. Maybe the real issue is that people are tired. They're tired of feeling unheard. So when someone successful speaks strongly, it can land differently. Ben turns to her. That's fair. Joy watches him carefully. So you admit there's a gap. I admit there's frustration, Ben says. I just don't think the solution is silencing people who care. Joy sighs. Nobody said silence. But you did suggest listening more than speaking, Ben replies evenly. Joy nods. Yes. Ben shrugs lightly. I listen. I also speak. There's a brief pause. The intensity isn't gone, but it's no longer escalating. Whoopi steps in again. Okay, here's what I'm hearing. Joy's saying tone matters. Ben's saying voice matters. Both can be true. The audience applauds that line. Joy glances at Whoopi, then back at Ben. I don't think you're a bad guy. Ben lets out a short breath, almost a half smile. That's good to know. A few chuckles ripple through the studio. Joy continues. I just think sometimes Hollywood doesn't realize how it comes across. Ben nods slowly. And I think sometimes media amplifies the worst examples. That line lands with a softer reaction. Thoughtful murmurs instead of applause. Joy doesn't immediately fire back this time. She looks at her notes, then back at him. So where does that leave us? Ben answers without hesitation. Talking. Like this. The audience applauds again, louder now. Joy gives a small smile. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then, Ben says. That moment feels genuine. Not staged. Not polished. Just two people who don't agree, but aren't willing to storm off either. Whoopi glances at the clock. We've got about a minute left. Joy looks at Ben one more time. Do you think you'll keep speaking out? Ben nods. Yes. Joy raises her eyebrows slightly. Even if it annoys people? Ben smiles faintly. Probably. That earns a laugh from the audience, a real one this time. Joy shakes her head, smiling now too. At least you're honest. Ben nods. Always. The music cue starts softly underneath the conversation. Whoopi wraps it up. All right. We may not have solved the world today, but we definitely had a conversation. Applause fills the studio. Some people are standing. Some are still seated, arms crossed, thinking. As the cameras pull back, Ben shakes hands with the hosts. He and Joy exchange a brief handshake. Polite, firm, eye contact held just a second longer than necessary. And then the segment ends. But that's not where the story stops. Within minutes of the episode airing, clips from The View start circulating online. Short snippets, feelings aren't facts. Overused narrative. Selective examples. The internet latches onto the sharpest lines. On X, hashtags begin trending. Hashtag Ben versus Joy and hashtag The View debate. Some users praise Ben Affleck for staying calm under pressure. He handled that with class, one post reads. Another says, finally someone pushing back. Others defend Joy Behar. She asked the right questions. He sounded defensive. Celebrities hate being challenged. Clips rack up millions of views within hours. Comment sections split clean down the middle. By the afternoon, entertainment outlets are running headlines. Tense exchange on The View. Ben Affleck clashes with Joy Behar. Debate turns heated. Neither side is backing down online. Later that day, a backstage source tells reporters the atmosphere after the show wasn't explosive, just quiet. Professional. Ben reportedly thanked the crew, took photos with audience members, and left without addressing the debate further. Joy, during a post-show segment, briefly comments, "It was a lively discussion. That's what we do here. No apology. No retraction. Just acknowledgement." The next morning, the clip plays again on recap shows. Panelists dissect body language. Did you see when he leaned forward? Did you notice her tone shift? It becomes more than a segment. It becomes a moment. Not because anyone shouted. Not because anyone walked off. But because it felt real. Two strong personalities. No script. No rehearsed outrage. Just disagreement, raw and unsmoothed. And that's why people can't stop talking about it. So now we want to hear from you. Was Ben right to push back? Was Joy asking the tough questions viewers needed? Did it cross a line? Or was it exactly the kind of honest debate daytime television needs? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.